Hey guys, welcome back to Real Love Scenario. Shout out to all our real lovers out there. Welcome back to all of our current real lovers. If you're a new real lover and want to join the gang, please do it. Subscribe, like, comment, follow the podcast. Do all these things,
please,
and you'll be a part of this gang that you want to be a part of.
Please, don't make me beg.
Don't make it big. Baby, I'm begging.
Baby, I'm begging, baby. I don't mind begging, honestly. For anything that I truly want, I'll beg. So, pretty please, we appreciate you.
Please, so much. But thank you guys for tuning into another episode of Real Love Scenario. How are you doing today, Rhonda?
I'm good. Good.
Sade vibes.
Good. Yes, a little Sade. Shout out to Sade, I do. A woman who I might not ever see perform live again. But if you, for some reason, just happen to come across this podcast and your, joys of retirement and living seemingly a life of quiet luxury and you want to come back, I will buy a ticket. Okay? I would love that.
And you can come on this couch too.
Oh, we would love that as well.
Yes.
We would love that as well. But yes, she's on my bucket list of people I would love to see live. But I don't think I'll ever get the chance to because I really think she's kind of done. Yeah, so.
I'm trying to think if there's somebody. I mean, there's other people that
have passed away.
I'm trying to think if there. I mean, of course, Michael would have loved, especially with the technology that we have now.
Oh yeah, he would have killed it.
Could you imagine the type of show he would have put on? Because he was doing that with just him center stage, doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine that it would rival Renaissance, just the production, just everything that he would put together for that.
Yes. Everybody else that's on that list for me is deceased. So, it's just literally nothing I could do about that one. But Sade is alive and well. Just come back. Not just for me. It's lots of us who would love to see that. So she's one of my favorites.
Who do you think is next up? We had Michael from a performance standpoint, Chris, Beyonce, who do you think is the next up, that newer generation that could be a performer of that magnitude?
That's a singer?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I don't actually know. I think from rappers, yes. I think that Drake is that person from a rap perspective. And he does both, so for me, and he's very much that today. He's a massive global, international, very, very, very rich star today.
But how old is Drake?
In his early 30s.
Oh, early 30s?
Yeah, Drake's young. Yeah, Drake's young. So yeah, although he's primarily a hip hop artist. I think
we're 37.
Oh, okay. So mid 30s. So I mean, yeah, Beyonce's 42.
It's not that far. I was thinking more
young.
Yeah,
maybe I'm too old to know. Who are the 20 something? Who are the 20 something? I don't know any
of them. Performers or not?
Yeah, I mean, because no, the people that are popping in my head, I just don't get the big star energy from them. I think music today is so much more singing wise. It's so much more mellow and and I'm of course thinking about music that I enjoy. There's some 20 somethings like a Taylor Swift who clearly she's already having the Michael Jackson experience being as young as she is. But I don't listen to Taylor Swift, so I don't really care. But a 20 something singer?
I have two.
Okay.
So I didn't know, I just looked it up. I didn't know that she was in her mid 30s. But so that makes me not saying that she couldn't do it, but if she played her, because I don't know if when Beyonce first started, everybody knew she would be this magnitude of performer at Destiny's Child, right? No. But people I could see, the first one was Victoria Monet. I feel like if, depending on how her career, how she attacked it and how she has a big fan base right now, and depending on how she developed, it could be. But I didn't know she was 34 already too.
Right.
But also her.
Yeah.
She's 26.
That's a really good one.
And I've been to one of her shows. A lot of energy. And it's half rock, half R&B. Even she did her thing on Super Bowl, and I could see, her continuing to try to push the limits of like performance and art and stuff like that, and her get to a point to where she has like a big tour to where it's like, yo, this performance is literally insane.
Yeah, I could see that. I think the only thing going against her is dance. She doesn't dance. And to have that, that's got to be a part of it. Like when we again talk about Michael, Beyonce, you that is a massive part of that. Like you could certainly have it because clearly, again, using Taylor Swift, she doesn't really dance.
No.
But she has that appeal, that fainting appeal, that like I will buy a ticket no matter what without dancing. But she doesn't have that, but she's an excellent entertainer. I always say she's like the female young Prince. Prince had that too, and he was not really he danced, but more like that James Brown vibe, not like Corey. Why can't I say this word? Choreography.
Okay.
But just electric on his own. So I think Prince levels, yes, for her, yes, but she just doesn't have that piece of it.
Maybe she might add it. That's what I said. She might add it. She might add it. She has time. That's what I was saying. She has time to possibly add that to
that piece of it.
That piece to it.
Okay.
But
fingers crossed. I love her. Yeah. And I've been to her. I've seen her live multiple times. I've enjoyed every single show. So I love her.
You can come on too.
Yes.
Gabby.
Yes.
Okay, let me get into our Real Lover review.
My favorite part of the show.
And this was going to be real short and sweet.
Okay.
But just because it's short don't mean it ain't sweet.
That's true.
This is on Apple Podcasts. The title says Real Lover. Of course, it's a 5-star review. Yeah. It's from Amb2490.
Okay. Hey, Ambs.
Just love you guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you. You've listened to please go and write us a review. It don't have to be long. I love that. We love you too.
It's like church where 2 or 3 are gathered.
We love you too. We thank you, Amps.
We appreciate it.
Be like Amps. Okay. Go right now. Like literally you can pause this because we're not going anywhere.
Nope.
Pause this, go leave the review, and then come back. We have a really, really, really great show for you today. Because this topic is quite interesting to me, but we're not there quite yet. We are going to though get into the real life.
All right.
So you all right? Put your seatbelt on.
Let's go.
Strap it in. This is the one that is dominating the headlines right now. And we're citing our source here. It's an article from Vibe.com written by Amber Kareen, and it says
follow Amber, actually. That's
okay.
Very
hey,
interesting.
Amber.
Hey.
39-year-old model, reality star, and entrepreneur Drea Michelle has confirmed that she and 22-year-old NBA star Jalen Green are indeed expecting a baby girl due in May of this year. In an IG post, Drea says, as women, we navigate through so much, often leading us to question, what is my purpose? She posted this on International Women's Day, and she says, for me, my magic lies in motherhood and the awe-inspiring ability to bring life into this world over the span of 2 decades. It's my superpower, and if anything can surpass the wonder of being a woman, it's the privilege of bringing another woman into existence. Now, Drea has come under fire for this because she and Green share a 17-year age gap. Her comment section immediately filled with opinions and scrutiny, as some deemed her a predator and claimed she should be in jail, some even referring to her as R. Shelley. Many find her pregnancy to be a bit eerie, additionally because she has a son who is about a year younger than Jalen. So we figured we should chat about this a bit because I think that second part of it is probably the part that's bothering people for the most part. And that is that she has a son that is basically the same age as her man. And yeah, Dre, like I'm just so curious to know, do you think that Drea is wrong for dating a 22-year-old? She's 17 years older than him.
No, not necessarily. I mean, from the technical legal sense, no, she's not wrong. It's nothing illegal about what she's doing. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we're all free to pursue the desires of our own heart, right? Mm-hmm. And although we can all admit, if most of us go back to the age of 22, there will be a lot of things that we say we probably shouldn't have done, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe gotten that car loan or gotten those student loans or did this or did that. So we all have those things when we're at that age to where we still because we don't have the experience, we don't have as much wisdom as we probably would have if we were older.
Yeah.
Yes, is it possible for people to prey on that? Possible, yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, that's all a part of growing up and being older. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You may not have had a relationship with a woman who's 17 years older than you, but at 22, you made some decisions that you look back now and you're like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have did that. Yeah. That's just the natural thing of growing up and being older and becoming an adult, is that you do things, you figure it out, you learn as you go, you make mistakes, you learn from those mistakes, and you continue to move forward. Yeah. So if he's fine with it in his current state and she's fine with it and that's what they want to do, they are more than welcome to do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, also, you have to keep in mind, whenever you take an action, you have to understand the world that you live in, and that there are consequences to every single action. That although what you're doing may be legal, there will be the court of public opinion that will respond, and you can't be upset when you know you're living in a world to where people may view this as a certain way or a certain thing when they respond, especially if you do put this thing out publicly as well. So as long as you're secure in that and you feel fine with that and you're okay with all the backlash that could come from it, and you feel like, because only you would know that what you have between you and that person is genuine and real, then you are more than welcome to do that. And that's your own prerogative, you know, to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I agree with you. Now I can, you know, try to get into the psychology around what it means to date someone that much younger than you, and what could you two possibly have in common? What are you looking for with him other than money? Because that's the theme here, is that Drea is well known for dating men of a certain status. Her last child's father was an NFL player, or is an NFL player. Her ex was also an athlete, whoever she was most recently linked to. So of course there's this idea that she's dating him because of his connection to the league and because of the money that he has. And listen, that may be possible and that may be true. And also, like, I mean, okay, you know,
why do people assume that the man isn't aware of that though?
That is exactly what I was about to say. Like, he knows that he has the money that he has. He also knows that having unprotected sex could produce a baby. I get that he's 22, and I get that he might in fact even be very enamored by her. She could also have wielded some, because she's an older woman, some sorcery over him. All of these things are possible, but we just don't have any actual proof of that. We don't have any tangible proof that she did something or was manipulative or predatory. It is possible. And I do think, as you said, legally and technically, he is an adult. He's 22. For those of you that are like, oh, he was in high school 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago, he was in high school, but it's 4 years later and he's not in high school. He is a young adult man. She is a older adult woman, and they both are consenting adults. And I get that, yes, it could be all those other things, but it also could be the opposite of that. Maybe they do have things in common other than, you know, their like or physical like for each other. Maybe they don't, but it's their thing to deal with. It's going to be his consequence. If this was a bad decision, if this was a money grab for her, it's going to be his problem to deal with. And it's going to be, if she has any morality or conscience, it's going to be a thing for her to deal with. Now, Drea is an entrepreneur. She does have a successful, at least one successful business, her swimwear line. And so she does have her own money, but does it compare to Jalen's money? No, it does not. But even that, like, there are too many people out here, and even specifically women, who want, and their preference is to date a man that is financially secure and very financially secure. Is that wrong? Depends on who you're talking to. If that's your only motivation, yeah, I think that's wrong. But I don't think it's anything wrong with actually wanting someone who's very financially comfortable. If you are of a certain caliber and you're financially comfortable, I don't think it should be your only motivation. Of course not. But again, if that is the case, he's going to learn a very valuable lesson here. He will learn.
You're Want to revisit your cellar dweller rebuttal?
Oh no, I definitely don't. That because what works for me may not work for other people. That's just that. There are women that are like
episode.
Yeah, like that absolutely want that. As I've always said, I want you to be able to take care of you. Now, if you can in fact take care of you, them, me, a lot of people, because you got millions of dollars, you've already checked my box. My box is that you can take care of you. Yeah. You don't have to be able to fly me private and give me $50,000 a month in child support. That's not my requirement, but I'm also not Drea.
I mean, we see this with a lot of things, even outside of relationships, that people always say what they would do if they were in a situation that they've never been in before.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we see that if people are actually placed in those situations, they respond a lot differently than what they say they would do if they were in that situation. And that's what bothers me when people like judge people when it comes to certain things, because I can easily see how he's very happy with the arrangement and situation too. Like,
sure,
as a man, I'm a millionaire at this point, not a ton that I necessarily want. My next couple years of life are pretty secure. I'm a basketball player. I play basketball. I make X amount of dollars every single year. Everything outside of that is just fun, family, life. But like, that's a very, like, it doesn't get more secure of a lifestyle of like, I'm under contract for a certain amount of years. This is my life, right? So everything outside of that is just like fun, friends, family, spend time with that. But I can imagine, like, at that point, you meet somebody who Drea is still attractive, looks very good. Wow. Like, and most of us, if we meet somebody attractive and they want to spend time or take time and they're being nice, we're going to give them time if we feel like we're attracted to them. Right. And then through that conversation, through hanging out, you might genuinely like spending time with that person.
Yeah.
And enjoy spending. At that point, you're not looking at the age. You're not, you're like, they look good. They make me feel good when I'm with them. I enjoy spending time with them. And who knows what could lead to other things. So it's not as predatory. And maybe, there are things that she is doing to try to attract him, or things that she knows from experience that men like. But aren't all women trying to do that with men?
And are all men trying to do that with women?
Exactly.
Are we not all actually doing that?
Running a little game, playing a little, doing this to make them like us. Like, we're all doing that. So,
and when it doesn't work out, when we find out that it was a manipulative tactic, if that is what we find out, we deal with the consequences at that point. I think it's also, there's this strong perception that because he's 22, he's of a certain mental immaturity, and because she's 39, she's of a certain mental maturity. Neither of these things are absolutes. He could be very mature. She could be very immature. Like, we just simply don't know. We don't know. Now, if it were me and mine, if he was my son, would I prefer that he be dating a 39-year-old woman who already has 2 children, that he now has to step up and be, if this gonna be your lady, not just this is you creating a family here, and naturally assuming her family. Would I prefer that for him? No. But if he said to me, Ma, I feel like I know what I'm doing, I got this, I'm going to respect his decision. It would not be my preference, only because I think that's a lot for my 22-year-old son who's never been a father before, to take on not just y'all's baby, but the other babies. I think that's a lot. But I would still have to respect his decision if, as a man, he's putting his foot down and saying, this is what I want for my life. I wouldn't prefer it for my son or my daughter. Like, yes, I would be thinking, like, what do you have in common at 22 with a 40-year-old? But I have things in common. I think about, like, my niece. She's 26. Yeah. We have things in common. We certainly do. Yes, she might think of certain things or want to do certain things that I don't have an interest in, but there are other things that we 100% have commonalities on. And I'm clearly her aunt and 14 or 15 years older than her. I also dated someone who was 18 years older than me. I had that actual experience. Were there certain things that we were not on the same page about? Of course. Were there certain things in life that he was more advanced on than me? For sure. But were there things that we had in common? Absolutely. We were together for almost 5 years, so we had to have had some things that were in common. as to why we were together. You know what I mean? So I just think it's too blanketed of a thing, and we just don't know enough about people. And as I said on the other episode, we think we do because of social media. We assume that Dre is a predator because she's dated athletes. We assume that he's some stupid kid because he's 22 years old. I simply just don't care that much. If he was 17, it would be problematic. If her son being close to his age, also, like, I've just seen it too many times. Yeah. So I just can't care that much. There are some people who are in relationships with women. There are some men, like I think, is it Al Pacino or Robert De Niro, or maybe both.
Robert De Niro, I think.
Both.
Has like a 2-year-old or something like that.
Yes, with he has children older than that woman.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
From the outward appearance, the younger model, the newer model typically looks better than the older model, right? A lot of times we can't do it because of the mental maturity, right? For us, a lot of times, because it's like, what am I going to talk to a 19-year-old about, right? Like, you might at 40 be like, I don't know what we going. Like, you don't get it. We're at different points in life. Like, you might leave me in 2 years. Like, I just want to have fun. I never explored life. Like, who knows what life could be? And that's a lot of times why people don't do that. Some people may be creeped out by the difference, but that's a lot of reason. But we're not going to sit there and act like, when you physically look at a 26-year-old who's in shape, the best shape that they've ever been in, no wrinkled skin, good, like the best, your prime, your physical appearance prime, that you won't look at that and be like, that's a good looking, person right there.
Yeah.
So we're not going to act like that's a thing. But I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Because they're in the public eye, there's always this perception of people.
Yeah.
And I really like when, at one point, when we were doing Don't Call Me White Girl, we were going to interview Brittany Renner at one point, and I remember reading her book, and it just opened my eyes to so much about her, because I was like, yo, there's I think she's misunderstood by a lot of people, and people don't understand a lot about her, or even how she got to the point of where she is now. And you have to understand that so many people, they just have layers to them, and they're a lot deeper than what you think they are. And like you said, people assume because he's 26, or 22, that he's young, and she's a reality star and all that she's not intelligent, or there's, all these assumptions. But at the end of the day, I don't know why people care so much.
Yeah.
When 2 millionaires have a baby, there's a lot bigger things in the world that we that we need to address and could
As
address.
Kourtney Kardashian said to Kim, people are dying in this world, Kim. Like, they're
like, it's just not that deep of a thing to me to think about with two consenting adults.
I just don't care that much. Like, I'm sorry, especially because I've seen, not to be shady, so many men do it for so long, where it's like, and worse. Lord, I just confirm, like, Robert De Niro has a 52-year-old child and a 1-year-old.
Yep.
Y'all, please. That 52-year-old daughter of his is older than that woman he just had that baby with. Okay, way older.
But like I said, it's what's it here? He said, well, I think it was before the filming, but basically, like, the standards for black folk and white folk be different, man.
Real different. And the standards for men and women also.
Women are different. Yeah.
Very different.
Like, it's like, if you see Tom Hanks on the subway, it's like, oh my gosh, he's just like us. Look, he's riding the train. You see a black celebrity on the train, it's like, dang.
What happened to you?
Guess them checks ain't cashing like they used to.
All right. That's doing okay.
I'm
gonna keep you in my praise.
He ain't look good.
He got that stuff. We love saying that people got that stuff. Oh God! Best wishes to everyone involved.
And I hope the baby is healthy. I hope that they have a great, thriving relationship, and that I wish them the best.
Yeah, and I hope it's all for the right reasons. Truly, I choose to look at it positively, as we tend to do on the Real Love Scenario. So let's jump into that. Our Real Love Scenario this week. We hear from Unbusy B, and she says, so my question when it comes to dating and relationships, it's a little complicated. I'm a single woman in my mid-40s without children, and I love my career. Both of my parents have passed. I don't have siblings, and I have a small group of friends. Ultimately, the only responsibility I have is me. When dating, I'm coming across women that deem me as a red flag because in comparison to them, I don't have much going on. I'm very aware that most women or people my age have kids, Parents who are getting older, they're working while in school, they're wanting to start a business, they have different friend groups, etc., and sometimes all of the above. But my life right now is very quiet and peaceful, and I've worked so hard at that. I'm not interested in going back to school or starting a business. I just don't need to. I feel like the issue is I actually have the time to court and get to know someone. But why would someone genuinely having time to do that equate to a red flag? Or I don't have enough going on. So my very simple question for you all is it me? Do I need to be more busy to fit today's expectations of dating and or relationships? Thank you, I'm Busy Bee.
Thank you.
We appreciate the write-in.
Yeah, this is something different too.
This is something different. This is something different. It's when I first read this, I was like, who? What is the problem? Like, I mean, and more so to the women that she's encountering that are like, you don't have enough going on. It's like, is that truly now a thing? The fact that she even would think that her more relaxed life is a red flag enough to write into us and ask us this is just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
But it made me want to deep dive.
Okay.
Into,
you like deep diving.
I do like deep diving into what I think is this hustle mentality.
Yes.
That we see every single day, that we all have to be moving and shaking, moving and shaking, moving and shaking. What is that about? Like, where did it come from? And why are we so obsessed with that?
I think off the top of my head, what we talked about last episode is social media, right? That I think plays a part in it because it's a comparison game a lot of times, right? And even I fall for that. And I sometimes have to pull myself back and be like, yo, like what? Like what? The other day I had to, look at my life and really sit back and be like, yo, you at 29, like, you found your wife, the thing that you said you wanted to do, you waited for marriage to know that your wife was with you for things beyond the physical, right? You quit your job at 22, ran a business, entrepreneur for 6 years, 7 years, you're executive at a big media company. And this is not me bragging, but it's just me having to really look back at my life and say like, yo, you won essentially. But if you get caught up in all these things around you, all you'll think about is what you haven't achieved versus what you have achieved.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we look back, especially I think that a good marker is if you look at the life your parents had and look at the life that you had. My uncle always said like a job as a parent is to make sure your kids get the things that you got sooner than what you got it.
Yeah.
And if you can look at your life and say like, yo, based off of how I grew up and things like that, like I'm definitely moving better or got things sooner or understand things quicker, then I'm doing pretty well for myself. But often we're caught in this place to where we're comparing ourselves to people who have more than us, and that makes us think we're not doing enough, right? And then that causes us to feel like we got to grind, hustle, in order to get to this place of whatever acceptance by our peers or acceptance by the industry that we're in order to feel like accomplished in life. And it's a false sense of like reality, a false sense of accomplishment, because you see so many people who get to that level and they still don't feel accomplished and they
feel very empty.
Still feel very empty. So I think that that's probably like the main driver of it. You have some people who do have this ambition, larger purpose that they feel like drives them. But I think for those people who you see, and if you have mentors and friends who successfully do it, it's really about the balance that they have, because I think all of us truly, for the most part, have the same goal, and that's for peace and happiness. Now we have a lot of methods of what we think it takes to get there, but ultimately that's what we want. And I think that that's what contributes to that hustle like mindset.
I agree with you so much. I definitely think the exposure to celebrities who can do it to me a lot easier, because it does take a lot of means to be able to hustle at the magnitude that we see them hustle at. You know, you look at one person and you think, wow, she's doing all of this. But it's like there is a machine behind that
For
is
sure.
very costly to do all of those things. Some people's business ideas or businesses that they now have were not their ideas. They were pitched to them, they were brought to them, and their sign on was like, okay, yeah, that works. I could do that. I have the money, I have the access. So sure, I'll get behind that. Or some of their involvement in their business ideas is simply an investment. They actually aren't truly involved. But we then look at that from the outside and we're like, oh, I could do the same thing. And it has, to me, just a graver impact on us because we don't, the everyday person does not always have that machine to do that. So our burnouts, not that they don't get burnt out, because I'm sure they do too. But our burnouts, to me, come probably harder and faster because we just haven't necessarily built up enough capital, income, ability, a team to be able to like outsource a lot of things so that your life is a lot easier, so you do have more balance and therefore lessening your opportunity to get burnt out. I do want to read this excerpt from Forbes, how they define, and I love this because it includes a little comedy, how they define the hustle mentality. It says that it's a mindset that emphasizes working hard and constantly striving for success, often in the form of waking up at 5 a.m. to cram in a marathon before a cold shower and running 3 businesses, all while intermittent fasting. It's like, yes, that is kind of what it is. And you can interchange like any of those things, like it's being able to do this and that and that and that, and also smile and also be happy and also take care of your mental health and also work out. Don't forget that part, and make sure you're managing your cholesterol and take your vitamins. It is like just a nonstop rat race of like striving for success. But what I think is so interesting about success, we only really liken that to business. We only, whenever we say someone is successful, we're always only talking about how much money they make or their career or things like that. We never use that word to describe usually being successful in the relationships in your life, successfully resting, successfully taking care of your health. We never use that term to describe those other things. But to me, a successful life is all of those things. It is being able to do whatever your goals are, but also really balancing your life out very well, to have time for rest, to have time for friends and family, to have time for whatever your interests are. When I was interviewing Mayor Scott recently, he talked about how it bothers him that he sometimes is under scrutiny because he's seen doing things that just bring him joy.
Yeah.
And
like
they think, he's like, it's like I'm the mayor and they think that I'm not ever supposed to just like have fun. Like, am I not ever supposed to just like go play basketball with my crew? Am I never supposed to just DJ sometimes? Like, because that just brings me joy, you know? So I think I don't like the hustle mentality. I've had it, you know, I certainly have had it a big part of my primary career. I did that because I was hustling. Like, I got to get to the next, I get in this job and I'm like, I got to do this, and this because I want to get the promotion. I want to get that. And if that meant working after hours, working on weekends, I was willing to do it. And then I look back and I'm thankful for some of that. But I've realized where some things got missed.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on that, I wasn't focused on this. And if I could go back and do some of those things differently, I absolutely would. I would have put more time in to take care of myself. I would have put more time in to focus more on things that were not financially rewarding or professionally rewarding, just things that were more personally rewarding. I've lost vacation time from being in a hustle mentality, like literally just like, you know, your job you'll lose some if you don't take it. Like, I've lost vacation hours just because I was so focused on working. Like, it just, so I don't like it. In some ways, I'm still in it like you, where I'm having to juggle multiple things. But it, to me now, it has a harder impact on me. Like, there are days where it actually makes me very sad that I feel like I cannot just stop. I cannot just sit down for 2 or 3 hours and do nothing. If I do that, something is going to get behind that. That saddens me seriously. Like, I'm literally in that space as we speak. I have like 2 or 3 other things to do today, and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I simply don't want to do that. So I agree with you. I would not, as a older woman, if you're younger and you're watching this, I would encourage you to definitely have some balance and probably be a little bit more like I'm busy bee.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that the hustle mentality that you hear from people is false necessarily, but you're not getting the full picture.
Yeah.
And I've been able and glad that I've had a lot of experience to where I've seen people at multiple levels of success, of money, all these things, how they operate in their actual lives on a day-to-day basis versus what you hear when somebody's trying to sell you something, right? If you go on YouTube and you're looking on how to stay more productive, they're not going to tell you the times that they failed in productivity. A lot of times they're just going to give you all the highlights, like what worked, how I do it, how this makes me, oh, I was successful in business. This is what I did. Oh, when I was trying to be focused, I woke up at 5 a.m. I took the cold baths and then I walked up and got 20 minutes of sunlight. Then I ran for 30 minutes and then I did this. And it's like, what you realize is that all you're doing is looking for hacks. And that's not the true way to achieve success. Like success, honestly, to be very successful is kind of boring. Like, and it's the same with money. It's like, if you want to accumulate a lot of money, it's kind of boring. Like over time, 10 years, 15 years, you'll look back and be like, man, I accomplished a lot. But the day-to-day task of it is fairly boring. And you have to do what works for you. Like every single day, it's about improving and being better and knocking things out. Like you grow by compounding. You don't grow by making one move in one day and it just changes the trajectory of your life. So when you're thinking about hustling, a lot of times people who are hustlers stay hustling because the only way they can keep up with what they're doing is by continuing to hustle. Yeah. And they don't ever really set up the things in place so they don't have to hustle and they're working smarter and not harder. Yeah. And that's something that I had to realize. I used to always think like I have to just grind because that's what I hear. Every time you hear somebody successful, it's hard work. You got to put in the hours. And you got some people, you got to wake up at 6 a.m. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. You got to do this.
You
got to
sleep when you're dead.
Come on now. Like even the Eric Thomas thing, which I think Eric Thomas is a great motivational speaker, but you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. And it's like, I got a wife though. Like I can't want this career
over
better than I want to breathe because I got a wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or you hear stories about super successful athletes, but then when you take a look at their personal lives, you realize they got divorced, they got this, and they were great in their field.
Kids didn't see them. Don't have a good relationship with them.
So do you want that, right? Is that the type of life that you want? And I think you can achieve the success that you want to achieve if you take your time and apply balance and intentionality. Now, the thing is that when you do set aside time to work on work or work on yourself, you need to do that distraction free and really be intentional about that time. If it's 6 hours, it's 6 hours. And then you really work hard in that 6 hours to do what you need to do. Yeah. But you shift gears after that and spend time with your mom, right? And spend time with your wife or your significant other. So it's just
in the same way
with intentionality behind
focus on that.
Focus on everything that you're doing. And that's the balance, because the game isn't the issue with hustle mentality is that you're told that it's like a hustle mentality is a sprint. That's what that is. It's a sprint. But success in life truly is a marathon. Yeah. And you can't operate like it's a sprint because you're going to get burnt out. You're not going to be able to keep up in the marathon because you're going to be out of gas. Yeah. So you have to operate like I may be moving a little slower than that hustle mentality person on a day to day. But when I look 5 years down the road, I will have accomplished a lot and I'll be a lot happier. My relationships will still be intact. Yeah. Versus the hustle person who maybe did a lot and got a lot of flashy things, but their relationships are jacked up and their health may be a little bit jacked up because they were ignoring that, and they don't seem as happy. They have anxiety and depression. Like it's just that balance is important. So for Unbusy Bee, like I don't want you to fall into that trap, which it seems like you haven't, because you're already surrounded in a world to where that is pushed. You seem to have found your peace and what you want to get out of life, and there is nothing wrong with you feeling that way and wanting to live a more peaceful, laid back life.
Absolutely. And it made me think about like when you were just talking about how you look at what you have done, what you have accomplished professionally, but also personally. And I think one of the things that you did, and really asking you, but also assuming that you found attractive about Bree was that she had a certain business acumen as well when you met her. Like I'm sure that was something that was like, yes, I like her as a woman and as a person, physically attracted to her. She's cool. We have fun. But I think when you thought about business and professionalism for yourself, you were in some ways also attracted to what she was already doing. And that allowed you all to be able to come together and do businesses together and separately because she can kind of understand your mindset and you can understand her mindset. Is that the case?
Yeah, for sure. That was attractive to me, but I knew what my goal was and what I wanted out of a partner and what I wanted out of life. And I think that that's something that people have to keep in mind. Like, just keep your antennas up, and not saying you don't take advice from somebody who doesn't do this, but just think about it and listen. When you ask somebody for advice, the first thing that I feel like they should ask you is, what is your goal, if you haven't communicated it in the question when you ask, because everything is dictated off of that. There are so many different directions that you can go when it comes to advice in any realm: business, tax, attorney, like lawyer, legal, but it all starts with, what is your goal?
Yeah.
Then we can base whatever advice that is going to be given off of what you ultimately want. And I think with Bree, I know with Bree that I wanted to have my own business.
Yeah.
I had a bigger vision or purpose for what I wanted in my life.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in a relationship to where we waited for marriage before getting married. Like, all these things were my goals. So it was important in the person that I decided to be with, that what she brought to the table and also what she communicated to me that she aligned with what I wanted. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the people that I dated in the past who didn't align with that were wrong for not wanting the same things I wanted.
Right. Yeah. They just weren't necessarily your person.
Exactly.
Yeah, they just didn't fit into your bigger picture. When I thought about hustle mentality, I naturally thought about what seems like the exact opposite of that, which is this new phrase, soft life, that we hear a lot. And it popped up. I actually did some research. It popped up in 2022.
Okay.
And I truly did not realize that it was like an actual movement of a thing. I've heard it clearly a lot, and I certainly think it's a great thing. And we all get to define what it looks like for ourselves. But it originated in 2022 from a group of Nigerian influencers whose style is spread across social media platforms, and it invited many people to envision how softness can be invited into your life and where comfort should be cultivated. And I really think that just was born out of trying to be literally the antithesis to the hustle mentality, because people were being burnt out. I think also, interestingly, the timing came, I don't say at the end of the pandemic, because it's still clearly going on.
Yeah.
But where we did have to like shut down, and we really did have to sit still. And so many people had been on this rat race for so long that it was like, well, what I'm supposed to do in here? Like, I don't even know what it's like to truly like be in my home and like just enjoy my home. People felt this, like, depression went through the roof. Some people were unfortunately like unaliving themselves because they could not just like be with themselves. They needed to be tethered to this busyness of life. And so I appreciate the ushering in of like soft life. And I think some people see it as something as simple as like, a very surface thing. Like, I just go to the spa once a week, or I don't work for 20 minutes, or I shut everything off. I think like whatever it is, whatever works for you, I think we all literally need it. I think we all need moments to just literally feel soft and like we're not responsible for anything, even if it's just for a little while, even if it's just for an hour. So I'm just curious to know, like, while the term might sound a little weird, like, Dre, do you have a soft life? But like, what ways do you prioritize softness in your life?
That's a good question. I think first, the biggest thing, number one, is never taking anything too serious and giving myself grace as I'm moving through life. I think that's the biggest thing, because this all starts with your mindset. I don't care in what environment physically you put yourself in. If your mind can't be present there too, it's not a relaxing place.
Yeah.
If your mind is distracted and things are in your head and you can't concentrate, you could be at the spa, you could be on the beach. You're not going to be able to enjoy yourself if you're mentally not where you need to be too.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we don't always talk about when it comes to the physical part of going somewhere. It's like that mental part has to be there too.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing in not taking things too serious and forgiving yourself is not taking things to those places. It's right. It's like every day I wake up and it's like, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. Everybody's not going to like me. There'll be times where I make mistakes, it's my fault. There'll be times where I make mistakes, it's not my fault. There'll be times where people misunderstand me and that wasn't my intention. Like, these are all expectations that I have and realities for my life. So it's like when they happen, it's like, you know, it's unfortunate, or I'll try again next time, or I'm not taking it, letting it weigh down my entire life or mood or anything like that. And then rarely do we have things that are once in a lifetime opportunities or things that need to be done right at this very moment.
Yeah.
Like, even my career and what I'm doing now, I do entertainment, podcasts, I run a network. I'm not solving world hunger. I'm not nuclear. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, even the issues that I deal with, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really.
Nobody's gonna die.
Nobody's dying. It's not that deep. Like, we'll get it figured out. Like, nothing in my life right now, and for most of us, honestly, is truly life or death altering on a daily basis.
Sure.
We may have moments, right?
Yeah.
To where we have to apply that attention, but rarely is it that. But I think we assign a lot of weight to things a lot of times that doesn't need as much weight as it does.
Yeah.
So when it comes to soft, like, that's for me starts first.
Yeah.
And having the right mentality, and then it's just dedicating time. Like, sometimes we feel like, because we see people at the top of their game, like the people that we typically see at the top, right, are the people who are naturally best at something, right? Beyonce is just naturally amazing. Like, when I watched the Renaissance movie, I was like, this is just God gifted. Like, you have the work ethic, yes, but there's also that element of God created you to do this. And when I hear Jennifer Hudson sing, when I hear certain people do whatever there is at the top of their game, comedians, actors, you just have something special.
Innately genius.
Innately just genius in that. When I hear Jay-Z rap, freestyle, just in the studio talk, you were gifted, right? But I think it gives us an illusion that if we want to achieve things, we have to naturally just let it flow. And there isn't this element of really technically scheduling things and putting things in order and really working hard at things in order to achieve it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, and I think it makes us not want to try to naturally, work at things and do things, because we feel like it should just flow. If we're doing it right, it should just flow. It shouldn't be a thing we have to plan. But with the soft life thing, if you really want to do that, you have to be intentional about it. You have to plan the time. Like, I slot everything now because my schedule is so busy, hanging out with a friend, talking on the phone, like everything I got to schedule out, because without that, everything would just be chaos and things will overlap. And then that's what creates the stress. Like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Oh, I forgot about that. And now I got to do this. And now I got to do that. Like, shoot, how am I going to do both of these? This is important. And that creates more stress for me.
Yeah.
So, like, part of that soft life, and everybody has their own thing that relaxes them and that they enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think the two main things for me is just getting in the right headspace and then scheduling out the time to intentionally
have a soft life. Yeah.
And also understanding that things aren't as big as what they seem, so you can put things off to the next day.
Yeah.
Or the next week. Like, it's okay to do that. The world won't end typically with your job unless you're doing something crazy. You president, I don't know, but for the most part, things won't completely fall apart if you just push it a day
Yeah.
and you take some time for yourself. What about
Absolutely.
you?
That was so good. I am not as good at it as I should be. Let me just put that out there. I'm just simply not. Um just I'm not, but I would like to get so much better at it. And I think the part that you just said is probably going to be one of my biggest takeaways is like really scheduling the time to do it, to really put it on the calendar, to like actually have soft life moments, if you will. I think, but one of my favorite ways to enjoy soft life is like naps and sleeping in, like actual adequate rest. I think to me, that's probably one of the ones that, I mean, I think it would unlock so much for my life. Like, I think that if I could master that, like, and it's not always going to be 8 hours every time,
Yeah.
that rule of thumb that, it has to be 8 hours every time. But whatever it is, that I do it with a great amount of focus. Like, I do everything I can to minimize the distractions up to the rest, like turning the phone off at a certain time, stopping work absolutely at a certain time, so that my mind has the natural ability to shut down so that it can then have quality rest. But midday naps is also just like, that is one of my favorite things. Like, just really nice sunshine. It doesn't have to be warm, hot or cold. It just a sunny day.
Yeah.
Something about taking a nap in just a pretty comfortable environment where most people probably aren't asleep right now, that feels so good to me. Of course, I like a lot of the other superficial things, like, going to the spa. I say all the time, I would spend, if I had more money, I would spend a great amount of it being pampered in that way, touched, rubbed, soft music, scrub my skin, peel my face, do all of that stuff to me. I walk out and I'm like, oh, I just feel like I guess I don't even
Floating out.
Yeah, like that is my thing all day long. But I also do, like you, give myself a lot of grace for mistakes. Giving yourself grace and being kind to yourself, and not saying really mean things to yourself, because you can't have a hustle mentality every day, or when you're trying to, you make mistakes. I think that's huge, and that is something that I do. I even say that to my teams, like, if this does not happen, nobody's gonna die. Their brain's gonna work normal. You're not gonna lose. No one's gonna lose an eye. Baby's not gonna lose their life. Like, put it in perspective for
we'll
truly
okay.
what it actually is.
I think you had a good point though too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that where is probably where soft life should start is getting the adequate amount of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like before spa days, before all that stuff. Like one way that you can just make sure that you're treating yourself well is just getting just an adequate amount of sleep, because so many people, and that affects health, that affects your mood when you wake up, it affects everything. Because so many people, they have the hustle mentality, and then it's like, yeah, I only got 5 hours or 4 hours, almost bragging about it, right? As if it's like, see how much work I'm putting in. And we all have those moments, but now in my life, I get my 8 hours. If I wake up at 10, I wake up at 10. If I wake up at 9, I wake up at 9. And I also end my day on my terms. Like, I don't work up to sleep. I work, and then I cut off time, and whether that's 11, whether that's 10, whether that's 12, I'm spending at least an hour on my terms, watching something I want to watch, reading something I want to read, because if I can't have in my day how I want it to, then I feel like, I'm working too much.
Yeah, that's a thing. And so, like, when I read what she said, and in some ways her balance of life were things that came by way of, like, I don't want to say trauma, but you don't have your parents, that's not something that I'm sure she wished was the case. I'm sure she certainly wishes that she still had her parents. But that just has opened up a certain amount of free time where you don't have to either care for them or even spend time with them because they're no longer here. She doesn't have children, and so she doesn't have anybody to be really responsible for. She has friends, but it's a small group of friends. So the amount of social activities are probably limited. Maybe even some of her friends are wives, husbands, or parents, so they don't have a lot of time to spend like with her. And like you said to her, I just think it's almost crazy to me that anyone would penalize you for not having a more active life outside of the things that you just simply need to do to take care of yourself. it leads me to the discussion around just like compatibility. And it's nothing wrong with having a hustle mentality if that's truly who you are and what you want. If you don't think you need to balance out rest, you're okay with being burnt out, and that's the choice that you make for your life, cool. But 9 times out of 10, that's the type of person that you should be dating too, because they get that. They are the same way. They likely won't be on your line constantly like, when you coming home? Why aren't you here? All you do is work, blah, blah, blah. If they're the same way, then that is likely your person. Those are your people, as we say. So for me, with her, it's like you're not a red flag. I want to just super duper clarify that. You not having a ton of things to do or a lot of people to do it with, I wouldn't say is a red flag.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. We have to figure out how to make this distinction, because I think you have red flags with the R on the flag and you have red flags with a P on the flag. Red flags with the R are like relationship red flags, right? That generally, if you want to be in a relationship and these things you don't have together are things that should be cause for alarm. So if you have trust issues, or you're not an honest person, or you have really bad issues communicating, like no matter what relationship you're in, that's something to take pause and be like, I don't know if this could work.
Yeah.
But then you have your personal red flags, which I think I commend people for, flagging these things, because you have to know, again, what I said, you personally, what you want and what you're looking for. We talked about Russell having his things, what he was looking for in a wife. And you may see somebody or be dating somebody who there's not anything for the relationship red flags they have that's wrong, but you knowing personally what you want out of a relationship, you may see and be like, that doesn't necessarily work for me. And it feels bad to even call it a red flag, because it makes it seem like it's something wrong, which there actually isn't anything wrong. But I could see in this situation on Busy Bee that it's not necessarily you are doing anything wrong, but I can see someone who does have a hustle mentality, or who is a very ambitious person, seeing the life that you have and saying like, I don't think that really aligns with what I want.
Right.
And that I want to call it a personal red flag, because those are typically things that you shouldn't change. That's just you.
Yes.
That's just their preference. But this is just the reality. Like, people have to understand that. And I don't think it's anything wrong with the people that she's dating if they're being honest, saying like, this just isn't the lifestyle that I want. Because if you think about it, even like, let's take grandparents for instance. We all know the 2 different types of grandparents that you can have. You can have the grandparents that want to be around the kids all the time. They'll move closer to the kid to be around the grandkids, and they just want to be super active. And you also got them grandparents that's like, listen,
I did my job.
I did my job.
Them yo babies.
Hey, the baby, love you. Yeah.
Them yo babies.
We out, right? But
I'm finished.
It probably couldn't work if you had one of the people and another one of those people from the 2 different situations, because they have 2 different mentalities on how they want to live their lives. One wants to go golfing and go vacation and do this, while the other one is more family oriented. All I need is my family around, and that's enough for me in retirement. So it's not necessarily saying one of those are wrong per se. It's just that everybody has their preference. I'm glad that you understand what you want out of life, which is great, right?
That's huge.
That's huge. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What I can say, and what we could talk about too, is what I think people are seeing and their concerns about it.
Yeah.
And I think one of those is that sometimes people feel if no one has anything else outside of work, that they'll be on top of them,
highly
and completely dependent and stuck on them. So it's like, everywhere I'm trying to go somewhere, you trying to tag along. Every time I do something, you're like, what you doing? Where you going? And that's a fear that some people have with dating somebody that they feel like doesn't have anything going on. Or, even if you're a homebody, you're just going to be questioning me every time I go somewhere and do something. And why are you doing this? Why can't we spend time together? Because they feel like you don't have any other interests or things to do outside of that. Like, they don't want to feel like they're all of your life.
Yes.
Like, they could be a part of your life and a priority, number one priority in your life, but they don't want to feel like they're all of your life. And I think that that's the concern that some of those people may have.
Yes. And I chalk that up to what you call a personal red flag. It's just an incompatibility. We just aren't compatible in that way. And because there is someone who is in fact looking for this.
Yeah.
There's someone who is like, I
I'm ready to chill.
I want to chill.
Yeah.
I don't actually want a person that has a job and a business and parents that they have to take care of and kids that they have to take care of and a dog. And like, they don't want that. So it is, as Dre said, it's a thing that you don't need to change. You just need to be open to the idea that you will likely meet the person that sees you as like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for, because I'm at peace too. And I don't have a lot of things going on. I go to work, I come home. And when I come home, I would like to set a date with you or spend time talking on the phone. And I'm at peace too. And I don't have a lot of friends either. And we won't necessarily be unhealthily dependent on each other. We'll be interdependent and likely be able to spend more quality time together. Neither, though, is wrong. That's why I say the hustler, and most hustlers are usually with hustlers. But then you have the opposite situation too, where a person who is constantly on the go wants a person who is not. And usually, to me, those dynamics work out primarily when there is a family to be taken care of. There's a nice balance where we don't have to worry about bringing in outside sources to help raise our children or help take care of our house. You are that person. You get to more so be home. And while most of the time that is the woman who's doing that, we do know of people where it's the man who, the woman is the hustler and she's out doing it, and the man is a much more involved in the home things. So I do think it works in both situations, but for me, it just simply sounds like you haven't met people who see what you bring to the table, your peaceful life and your availability to date and court and do all of those things. They don't see that as a positive. They see that as a, you might need me too much. And ultimately, like I said, I just don't think those are those aren't the people that you should be trying to date anyway, and they shouldn't be dating you. So if they see you that way and they say this doesn't work or you're not doing enough, it's working for your good.
Yeah. And I think also on the flip side, just not downplaying like your life either, because I think maybe it could be the way that you're communicating the things in your life and how those things impact your life. Because I know people who have amazing jobs and careers, but that they get in a setting like networking, sometimes they like downplay themselves, like, oh, all I do is just blah 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 blah, and all I do, and it's like, no, you kind of are pretty dope, and you have a dope life, like you can explain what you do, but if you downplay like, oh, I don't do much, like I'm just happy just being at home, go to work, and it's just like, I don't know, but there might be more to what you're saying, that it's not actually as simple of a life as you're making it seem. Like, even if the things you do outside of work are hobbies, like if you have a bowling night every Tuesday or you go skating every Thursday, like those are still things to where it's things. Like my life isn't revolved around just you. If I come home, like I have other things that I'm doing, other things I'm interested in. I'm just saying I don't have any larger career business ambition, but I still have a life outside of work. So I think it's important to try to communicate that in the best way you possibly can. I don't know how you're communicating it, but that could be also something that could help contribute to that. But I will say, like, it could work, like Rhonda said, either two hustlers or one hustler and one person not. When I met my wife, Bree's a hustler. Like, that girl is a hustler. She always been that type of person. And the great thing about Bree and I is that I'm not necessarily that person, but we provided balance. And sometimes you need that balance to where I was able to kind of slow her down and like, let's think more strategically about how we're going to do it. Because sometimes with hustlers, it's like, I know where you're trying to get, but what you're doing right now is not going to get you to where you're trying to get in the long term. So how about we take a step back? We still take your drive, your ambition, all that stuff, but we be more strategic in how to achieve it so that it's more sustainable. And then on the flip side, she helped me like explore more, do more things that I never would have done, try things I never would have tried. Like, let's do this, let's do that. And you can have that balance that's created between those two relationships. So don't also be close to somebody who sounds like they are being very ambitious or this sounds like a lot, because although, you know, initially it may sound like, ooh, this is a lot, they may expose you to things, and also it could be a good balance possibly. So just keep an open mind when you're, meeting people and dating people and trying to figure out what may work for you.
Yeah, that I fully agree with Trey. I didn't even think of that. That's why I have him, because we think for each other sometimes. How you communicate it, that's huge, because usually people, when they don't have a lot of business things going on, they even use the word all I do, or I just. No, your hobbies, yoga, running, dancing, music, whatever, they watching movies, those are all, listen, I wish I had more time to do just those things. You understand how much stuff I want to watch on TV right now and I can't?
Yeah.
Craziness. So we really, really hope we were able to help you and just encourage you to, sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It's just, you have to be patient about finding your person and your people. It sounds like you have a lovely life, so please continue to enjoy that. And I hope that you find your person very, very soon. Again, thank you for writing in. And if you want to write in, go to relationshiprestore.com, click the contact button, write into the show, leave your real lover dedication so we can read it on the show. And be sure to follow us. I'm at Ronnie Cakes,
as Dre Smith,
and at Relationship Restored. We'll see you next time.